I look healthier than I feel. Good evening, everyone. Here's an introduction. It's Robert speaking. For those of you watching this later on video, we're going to do a live stream, and this one is a Q&A and a discussion. It's not really about live tarot card reading, although I kind of think that I am available if anyone has an urgent question. I shall be reiterating this as people join. Hello, everyone. Hi. For the second time in a row, I'm not particularly well today. My sciatica, which turned out not to be real sciatica, is much better, although my leg is still a bit strange. But my husband has an extremely heavy cold, and I've been the nurse for the past 3-4 days, and now the nurse is beginning to feel that he is not entirely immune to it. So I can feel the little tickle in the back of the throat, but I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to, I'm trying to react to a future event, which is me feeling better. And that's because I'm reading a Seth book. I had one of those discount vouchers came through the post. There's this thing called Medimops in Germany, which is a website where they sell secondhand books and objects and tarot packs and things. And I got myself a tarot pack, and I had to get it up to a certain. I had to spend more than €20 in order to get the postage free. So I googled for Seth books, and I found this, The Magical Approach, a Seth book by Jane Roberts. Like all the Seth books, it's absolutely lovely, and it's a bit sad because you can see that Jane Roberts is nearing the end of her life, and she's doing her best to think positive and to heal herself. And they notice slight signs of improvement in her sickness. But we, the audience, know now that she didn't live very much longer after channeling this book. Kay Hansen from Oregon says hi. Hi, Kay Hansen. Faraway Star. Hi, Robert and everyone. Hello, Faraway Star. Redwing. Hello, Redwing. Hi, Robert. Sorry to hear you're still feeling unwell. Yeah, and it's a different flavour of unwellness today. But you know, they talk about sort of a body crash, don't they? And I think I'm fine with that. You know, I mean, I've had this strange nervous thing in my leg, which isn't proper sciatica, which was very, very painful. And now I'm kind of over that, but I'm not very well because both me and my partner have got colds. He's really got it badly, and I'm just going down with a sore throat. So I am going to see how much I can do for you this evening, but I'm looking forward to this evening because it's not me reading, is it, this evening? It's a discussion, it's a Q&A. And so I can be a bit more relaxed, and I can really enjoy just I suppose you'd call it the feeling of community that we have. I also want to say that even though this is not a reading session, if anyone has any urgent questions or things that are bugging them, we can maybe do one reading this evening or two. I mean, the cards are here, I'm all set up, I'm in the zone, so I just don't want to time myself out. Luke D says, hello everyone, kisses from Brussels, that's nice. Thank you, Tea and Tarot. By the way, it's not tea time at all, but rather aperitif time, pre-dinner drinks. Well, in Brussels, you have the elegant life, don't you, I think? Elle Phillips, hello, Elle Phillips. Good evening. Michelle Helvetia, nice to be here. Nicholas Mars says, hi, Robert. I'm watching with my mum, Rita. Hi, Nick, and thanks to your message recently. I'd love to talk some more about what you said, but maybe not in the live stream. Talented Tadpole is here. Hello, all. Hope you're Both better soon. That's very nice. It was funny because when Achim is the name of my husband, and he had this terrible cough, and we were kind of hoping it isn't COVID. I don't think it is, because he's better now. But he was miserable. You know, some people get very miserable when they're ill, and I was asking ChatGPT, you know, what can you do for a cough? And ChatGPT said this, that, and the other herbal tea. And I said, oh, which herbal tea? And ChatGPT said that. And I said, oh, do you recommend honey? And ChatGPT said yes. And I said, is it okay to take melatonin? And ChatGPT said yes. And I said, oh, that's so nice, because my husband's so miserable and he's going to really be happy with all this. And ChatGPT, it's like the computer in 2001, ChatGPT said, well, I do hope your husband feels better and send him my best regards. And it was funny. It was like talking to this very well-behaved robot. And I think, incidentally, I think that we should be polite to our robots, our ChatGPT. Maybe it doesn't matter with Alexa. Maybe Alexa is so primitive. I mean, Alexa is quite annoying, and I often snap at Alexa. But I think with ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is learning how to be with people, I think it's really important to say thank you and just shoot the breeze and talk from an emotional point of view and state your needs, because, you know, in a few years' time, we are going to be sharing the planet with the robots, aren't we? So we need them to learn how to be human and how to be nice to us. We need to be nice to them. I'm laughing hysterically. Laura Phillips says, I'm dying to hear your opinion of Yodrovski's book. Okay, well, I've recorded a rather careful review of it, and I haven't got my schedule in front of me. It'll go out in the next month or two. The thing is that I don't read Marseille tarot anyway, and my flatmate Jacopo, who is a tarotist and a tarot designer, he's into Yodrovski. He's Italian. I think Yodrovski that book was very influential in Italy. And he said, oh yes, you must read this book. So I read it, and I'm to be polite, I'm very ambivalent about it. I think it's a bit of a gaslighting book. And I don't want to speak out of turn, because I'm not sure if I know enough about all the facts to get this right, but it seems to me that Yodrovski made friends with the guy who came from the family who published Tarot de Marseille. And together they restored the Tarot de Marseille, or at least one branch of it. And after restoring it, he then wrote this book in which he talked about these tiny details in the cards in the Tarot de Marseille. Tiny details. I mean, you've read the book, so you must know what I mean. Like the cross-hatching is going that way or that way, and this is a reference to either earth or heaven, you know, and this character is sitting on an egg, which means rebirth. And, you know, people say, well, that egg wasn't, I've heard people say that egg wasn't there until he restored this thing. And then, you know, so it may be that he's reading things into things that he personally has put there, maybe. But even if he isn't, you get to the minor arcana, and I don't do Marseille minor arcana anyway, but the idea that, you know, this leaf pointing to the right and that leaf pointing to the left is going to tell us how to read tarot cards. I can't get my mind around it, because I mean, I know that RWS is in a sense limited, because Pamela made those decisions, and now they're kind of like they're carved in stone, aren't they? You know, here's a RWS derivative 4 of Batten's, and it's like Pamela's. So she kind of, in a sense, she closed down the possibilities of the cards, but for me, she opened up the possibilities of the pack for quick reading, because I'm not clever enough to deal with the kind of complexity that Yodrovski suggests in his book. And I'm not sure if anyone is I've also heard it said, because I put out a shout out about the Yodrovski book when I was doing my review, online, saying, "Can anyone help me?" And quite a lot of people, a handful of people wrote back and were a bit skeptical about the book, and they said, "Well, Yodrovski might even be a prankster. There might be an element of, gaslighting in the book." Um, and there's certainly an element of self promotion. So I didn't really enjoy it, even though, and I think Yodorowsky's a performer, and I think he gets carried away with his own performance in a lot of the book. At the end, he seems to calm down and write like a normal human being. And I thought the end was very, very good. But that's just the last literally 10 or 15 pages out of a, whatever it is, a 400-page book or 500-page book. My flatmate Jacopo tells me that the Yodorowski book was significant in Italy because tarot reading had fallen into disrepute. It had become cheapened by sort of silly tarot readers doing it on TV and making millions of pounds out of it, or lira. And Yodorowski came in with this rather serious, high-minded, no, we must behave well as tarot readers, we must be psychological, we must live well, we must watch what we say, we must be responsible. And that was very much appreciated, certainly in Italy. And I can see that, all that stuff that he says is within the framework of a reasonable, responsible tarot reader, and I completely appreciate that. So I'm criticizing it, I suppose, at a fairly high level. Given that it's a clever and sophisticated book, then given that, I have doubts about it. And also, I think historically it's absurdly inaccurate. I mean, he says the tarot was invented in the year 1000, and we all know that's not true. He says that the tarot was invented in France, and we all know that's not true. So, sorry. Oh, Talented Tadpole says Yodders. Let's call him Yodders. Yodders read only major arcana in vids I saw of him on here. Well, that's what I mean about gaslighting, right? So he writes this book, which is, I think, quite oppressive on the subject of the minor arcana, and then he doesn't use them. He's a lunatic, says L. Phillips. Justin Michael, it's just one man's interpretation of the cards. Reading the Marseille gives more liberty with interpretation for some. I get that. I totally get that. And I'm not going to war with Marseille Tarot by any means. It's just, for me, the animal that I am, and because my life experience is, reading RWS since the age of 19, as Bubble in AbFab once put it, I could never go back to Pips. She was eating seedless grapes, and she said, I could never go back to Pips now. L. Phillips says he's a lunatic, but I am finding the book amusing. Yeah, it is amusing. It is. I don't see why we can't apply similar to RWS. I mean, by interpreting by sight as opposed to traditional meanings. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people do, probably. I think, okay, Justin, there is a possibility that tarot was invented in Avignon. Okay, I shall take note. Synchronicity Robin Wood, is the tarot on your table? I was going to tell you about Robin Wood. And Laura says Ben Dov puts a better perspective on it. Well, I must check out Ben Dov. I'm a bit behind there, but for me, I think Marseille Tarot is always going to be a side dish. I don't think I could read with it after all this time. RWS can be, Toadstool Tarot says, RWS can be as shallow or as deep as you want. Layers of meaning. I think that's absolutely right. I want to say something. Yeah, I think what I want to say is that I think any tarot reader, whether a Marseille reader or an RWS reader, builds up their own private lexicon of meanings. And I think, I think what we all need to do is just read and experience and try different decks, and just expand our practice in any way we want. It doesn't really matter which way, because the more you can kind of expand your understanding of each card, then the more complex, the freer you are to receive messages. So yeah, I am changing the subject slightly. I was in London, and I was feeling not exactly flush, but slightly less skint than usual. And I just had this insatiable desire to buy some kitschy retro tarots. So look what I did. I got the Hanson Roberts and the Robin Wood tarot in one day. I took those back in my suitcase, and these have been like on the edge of my awareness for many years, sort of plaguing me as what I would call kitschy retro tarots. And I just needed to get to grips with them and see what they were really like. And do I really want stuff like this? I think Robin Wood is, in some ways, quite good. They're very clear, the images, aren't they? And the colours are very rich. My only problem with it is that when you do a spread, there seems to be not a lot of coherence in the color palette. I mean, you get within the suits there's coherence, but the suits sort of clash with each other because the colors are so overstated. And in this one, Hanson Roberts, I quite like the whole deck, except that the children, the young people, have these big eyes. Like, they're super kitsch, aren't they? And some of the ladies have big eyes as well, like big, cute kitten eyes. The gentlemen are kind of just about okay. Well, only just. But I mean, and some of the cards are really pretty. That's really nice. But see if I can get you a child with big eyes. The lovers are a bit sappy. I mean, everyone looks a little bit like a hobbit, don't they, in the Hanson Roberts? I think that for me stretches my tolerance for kitsch. But they're a lovely size. They're between little and big, aren't they? And yeah. They're nice on the back, and the Robin Wood are nice on the back as well. Robin Wood are really well printed. Let me catch up with what you've been saying. Hello, Robin. Hi, Justin. L. Phillips, I like the size of the Hanson Roberts. I like the size of a Hanson Roberts too, and I like the shape because I think, are they shorter and fatter? Yes, if you compare them to a standard tarot, they're not just scaled down, they're a bit fatter, aren't they? And I like that very much. I even got myself a cheap copy of the Thoth Tarot, even though I don't like it much. And that's short and fat too. The size of the Hanson Roberts is very tempting, I agree. It's a lovely size. Because you get bridge size, don't you? And then you get tinned size and you get minis. But they're all a bit smaller than this. And this is just that little bit smaller than standard tarot, and it's a lovely, it sits in the hand very well. But I'm gossiping like mad, aren't I? I tracked down a great out of print tarot on eBay the other day, the Ator Tarot, and I bid for it, and no one else bid for it. It's a first edition. And I got it at the reserve price. It's absolutely lovely. It's I think one of the most relaxing sort of light tarots there is. It's a bit cute, but it's not so cute that you can't stand it. And it gives you 100% the RWS and yet it's more modern. It's crisp and it's clear and it's chic, and it's kind of throwaway, isn't it? I mean, it is it is cutesy, but not super cutesy. And some of the simple images are just wonderfully chic. So I'm really, really pleased. There's a second edition, which is frankly not good at drive-through cards. So if you want it, please look out for the first edition, and you might get it on eBay. Let me see. Let me catch up with the chat. Kay Hansen says, Robin Wood appears to be very similar to Wildwood. I don't know Wildwood. Don't you just love those Goldilocks decks that are just right? Fulgur Press have some bougie decks. I'm gonna go over this chat later and make notes. One thing I found very interesting about Robin Wood was that I always thought, I mean, because it is retro, isn't it? And it's from the bad old days in a way. I always thought it was designed by a man because, you know, it's from the days when people were, I suppose, you know, there was that brief point in history when nudity was kind of like great, you know, it was cool, wasn't it? But I find that the nudity images in this deck, I thought that they were like male sexist images of naked women and so forth, but they're not. Robin Wood is a woman. It's a she, it's a lady. So these, if I'm allowed to show this on YouTube, you know, this rather sort of fruity lover's card, that's designed by a woman. And I mean, there are even fruitier cards that I hesitate to show on YouTube. The resurrection, the judgment card is very full on. And I thought there was a slight sort of heavy metal feeling to it as well, which I thought, you know, I thought was a bit male, but no, it's a woman's deck. But that sounds good. Fulgur Press. I'm going to look at Fulgur Press. By the way, everyone, I did a reading for our session today. Oops. Before we started, that's me. That's you guys who've tuned in, and that's the session. So there I am, reversed 4 of battens, so I'm not in my comfortable place. I have a sore throat, and I don't know how long my energy is going to hold out. And that's you guys. I would have said you seem to be in a fairly good place there. 9 of Cups. And that's the result. King of Wands. So I think as a group, we are going to surge ahead this evening, get some inspiration and kick some ass, okay? I'm going to tell you a bit more about my inspirations, and then you can tell me about yours. I've been reading also this, Robert M. Place, this huge thing, the Tarot, Magic, Alchemy, Hermeticism, and Neoplatonism, 3rd edition. This book is printed on the wrong kind of paper. It's printed on the paper, shiny paper that is suitable for photographs and things. But he could easily have got another kind of paper. The paper's so heavy. This book, you could use this as, frankly, as a murder weapon. I've weighed it. It weighs over 1.5 kilos. And I'm not just being silly, but it's tiring to read because you have to find some position in which you're sitting or lying or whatever you're doing, and you're holding this book. And, you know, you could build muscles with this book. I'm about halfway through, and it's partly very good and partly not interesting to me personally. He's a very clear writer, and he's done a huge amount of reading and research. And he's got a kind of like a very clear, broad view of all the things he's talking about. I don't think he's always an exciting writer. I don't think he's always an inspiring writer. And sometimes, for example, when he talks about a subject that I'm not particularly interested in, like a subject that I don't resonate with and something I don't love, like, for example, alchemy, I don't find it very interesting and inspiring, not much of a page turner. So I do read it. I mean, I read the books that I review, and I will review this. I read them from cover to cover. And I was kind of like reading the alchemy chapters, and thinking to myself, well, this is going to explain why alchemy is interesting and why it's relevant. But I don't know that it did really. And then, sure enough, he puts alchemical images in his tarot cards, and you can sort of skip to the end where he shows, his decks. And I have to say, I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, but what's the payoff? Why is that going to help me to? He doesn't really give me enough insight into, for example, alchemy to tell me why I would use it in my readings. It's good. It's like a huge background reading book without containing sort of insights or secrets or inspirational treasures, I would say. So I'll review it properly later. When he talks about tarot design itself, it's really, really interesting because that's his expert field. So I think there's 200 pages in the middle of this book that are very, very good. But wow, he should have printed it on proper paper. I'm a bit cross, maybe because I have a cold and I don't have much strength. Faraway Star, I find Robin Wood too busy for me. It is busy and the colours are a bit funny. Justin Michael, I'm so bored with tarot lately. The new decks coming out are all so redundant and boring. I think they are a bit redundant. And I think they're often designed by people who, maybe haven't really thought it through. You think you can improve. If you think you can improve on the RWS or the Marseille, you have to do a lot of research, don't you? Doorstop reading, true. A murder weapon, true. He publishes everything himself, so that explains the paper. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you buy this book in the post and you get it sent from another country, imagine how much the postage is going to cost. Robin Wood sadly passed away on April 19th, 2021. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I'm really happy I have this tarot. It's definitely part of the tradition, and the backs are nice too. So it's June. We're nearly at the solstice. How's everyone doing? And has anyone got any hot tips for tarot decks or tarot books, or even some hot mystic on YouTube that blew your mind? Or it's 7:25 GMT. If anyone has something that's really bothering them, I could do one reading or one or two readings, but I don't want to get drawn into a whole reading session because I don't have the reserves of energy this evening. I've been listening to a lot of Matthias De Stefano in the past few weeks. Very, 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 very interesting. I would call him a mystic, but he's so relaxed. He doesn't even come across as someone who has, mystic knowledge, even though he does have a huge amount of it. He just is so ordinary and humble and unpretentious. And then you see him being interviewed, and the interviews are quite banal, and he just chats away this and that, and then the interviewer sort of presses some kind of button, and the guy will go into this extraordinary sort of psychic or esoteric what's the word, discussion. and you realize that he has amazing knowledge. For example, discussing the pyramids or going to the North Pole and healing the planet, but it's done in a very, very unpretentious way. Al Phillips says, when does your Kickstarter begin? I don't know. I'll try and begin it this year. And I haven't spoken to my co-writer for a couple of weeks. Sorry. But when it does begin, or when it's about to begin, I'll make a huge fuss, I promise. Pan's Willow Stream says, I recently came across Jeff Cullen's beautiful pagan statues and then found an interesting witchy video of his on YouTube. Jeff Cullen's pagan statues. Oh, that's nice. Is Jeff Cullen's an artist or a psychic, or what's his speciality? Yeah, Laura, in a way, that's the question I was hoping no one would answer, because it's sort of high up on my priorities to sort it out, but I haven't been terribly well. Sacred Source sells them. Oh, okay, thank you. Do you ever use the Celtic cross spread, Robert? It says Faraway Star. I used to for many years. In the old days, in the bad old days, it was the only spread in town, wasn't it? But I don't actually know. I got sort of what's the word? I'm more convinced by the horseshoe spread. The horseshoe, which you probably see me do it. You probably know it well. It's past conditions, present conditions, future conditions, advice, environment, obstacles, outcome. And for me, that's quite compact. That's quite concise. I find with Celtic Cross, how many do you have? 10 cards? You maybe even have 11, or maybe even 12. You could have, if you put the significator down, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You could have 11 cards on the table, which for me is quite a lot. I've been slimming things down over the years. So also, as you probably know, that I quite like using a spread which is basically 2 cards, so that you have, and I can't say I invented this myself, but it's sort of tarot almost at its most basic. So you have the issue and the advice. So you could say, in a sense, you've got something that's bugging you, but you ask the tarot to analyze what it is, what's the true nature of this thing that's bugging me? Describe it to me, send it back to me with wisdom attached, and then tell me what I should do about it. And so that's a 2-card reading, but also because you can always have as many cards as you want for illumination, I often have that as 1, 2, or 3 at the top for the advice. I almost always end up with 3. I start off trying to read that as 2 cards, and then I go 1, 2, 3 usually. But I don't really, I suppose because at the moment I'm reading for myself more than I'm reading for other people, and so I don't need to put lots of cards on the table. And I don't find the Celtic cross or the Celtic cross, I don't find it particularly sort of efficient. Talented Tapos said 4 cards is my max so far. Yeah, less is more. That's the official tarot spread of the Boston Celtics. The Celtics have a playoff game this evening. Let's give it a go. You're a card, L. Phillips. What's the final score going to be? I hate that Celtic cross spread. Well, I mean, I'm not entirely surprised because in a sense it is. I think it's an imposture, isn't it? The Celtic cross in a way, because it certainly seems that when I think wasn't it A.E. Waite, I think he published it along with the RWS, and he said, this is the ancient Celtic cross spread. And there is some evidence that he had just made it up on the spot, or someone else in the Golden Dawn had made it up, like 6 months ago. And I think because with tarot, everyone wants things to be ancient. I think for a long time, the Celtic cross spread kind of, what's the word? It had that position, didn't it, of being, it was the only game in town, really. It didn't have very much competition, so it was lording it over all the other spreads. But I think now, 50 years later, or 100 years later, we've got a huge variety of spreads to choose from. Oh, this is interesting, Justin Michael. I found a cool spread book recently. It has some really well thought out spreads. It's called Illustrated Tarot Spreads, Pielmeyer and Schirner. That sounds like European people. Are they Germans? But thanks for that. I'll write it down. Because I think in a sense you're only as good as your spread, aren't you, in a sense? Illustrated Tarot Spreads by Pielmeyer und Schirner. You did, Faraway Star. You triggered a few people with that one. Does anybody is anyone sticking up for the Celtic cross spread, or has it fallen completely out of favor? Okay, Jay Carlos, can I ask a question? Can you do an analysis of my relationship right now? Well, Jay Carlos, you're the only person who has, I sort of said that I was available for one reading this evening, and there must be a reason why I said that. So yes, the answer is yes. You're the only person who's asked, and it's 25-2, so let's do that. Let me just see what Justin Michael says. Best spread I found was given to me by Rachel Pollack. Wrote down, does that write down? Write down exactly what client says. Pull 3 cards for each statement. That's interesting. That's interesting. Jay Carlos, analysis of my relationship right now. Okay, I know we're in public, but do you want to tell me the absolute basics? For example, is this someone who you're with, someone who you're not yet with, someone who you've split up with, or do you want me to do it completely cold? And do you want me to know genders, or is everyone they? Okay, I'm in a relationship with the person. Okay. And J. Carlos, I'm sorry, but I've forgotten if you're a bloke or a woman. Okay, I'd like to use the Ator Tarot for this. I'm facing some challenges. I'm a man and she is a woman. Okay. So I'll do a bridge spread for that. Are we going to use 3 cards or 6 cards is the first question. I'm going to ask the tarot for the answer to that, if it's a 3 or a 6. It's a 3, okay. So J. Carlos, let's do an analysis of J. Carlos's relationship facing some challenges right now. Okay. J. Carlos's relationship. J. Carlos, please tell me, yeah, I'm giving you a choice between 3 piles which you can't see. So please tell me left, right, or center. I'm just going to center. Okay, I'm just going to focus on J. Carlos for now, but please, everybody else, feel free to chat. Okay. Well, I'll show you what we've got, J. Carlos, and you'll see what I mean by okay. And I hope this is helpful. I think it's quite helpful. That's the card for you, King of Swords. That's the card for her, Death. And that is the card for the relationship, 5 of Batons. So, you see, I think the challenge might spring from this, that these kings, and indeed queens, are kind of fairly stable in who they are and in their role in life and in what they're doing. In the context of this spread, that's the quality that I would glean from that king. Whereas for your partner, she's pulled the Death card, which is a card of change and transformation, and change that is not always easy, and change which might be disturbing, and having to let things go. And the result clearly here is struggle. Now, what we could do is we could ask for a 4th card as an advice card. Would you like me to do that, J. Carlos? Good. Okay. Okay, well, that's the advice. Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles, for me, has the quality of being present. You know, the other 3 knights are running around. The Knight of Pentacles is stationary. So I think the Knight of Pentacles' great quality is that he is present, he stays. it doesn't necessarily, I mean, he is someone who can fix things, and he is someone who's very supportive, I think, and very reliable and very loyal, and one of my favorite cards in the deck. Fantastic card. But but at the same time, I think his great asset is his presence. His great asset is his stillness, I would say, and also the horse. The horse's stillness, with it's standing so heavily on the ground, and it is vigilant and it's protective and all that stuff. If you can take on that role, if that's possible for you to take on that role, then I think that's what the other dimensional friends are suggesting. Yeah. Talented tadpole. And so J. Carlos, I'm going to put those cards away. I think that was relatively self-contained message, if that's okay with you. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay, that was my reading for this evening with my sore throat. I thought that was a moth on my t-shirt, but it wasn't. Good. I'm glad that was helpful, and I hope that was a message from your guides, and good luck with it. Time to tadpole need to deconstruct patriarchy. Certainly, always. Pan's Willow Stream. I brought the Tarot de Marseille deck you recommended, and I'm loving it. Oh. I've been working with it about a month. I have learned so much with these cards and booklet. Thanks. Which one was that? Was that the RW, the Marseille weight? Oops. Okay, and Justin Michael has an interesting message to L. Phillips. The 3 cards for each statement is really good. Faraway style question. In this spread, is the 3rd card read as an outcome, or is it read as the statement of the relationship? Yeah, exactly. It's a bridge. The 3rd card is a statement of the relationship currently. In a sense, it's the combination of the 2 energies. It's what is currently resulting. And that's why it's not an outcome card, not really. It's a state of play card. It's not a prediction. And I think that's why it's good for analyzing relationships. And that's why we pull the 3rd card to go on top of it. Sorry, a 4th card to go on top of it as an advice card moving forward. L. Phillips, I should try that too. I like fluids, spreads and systems. Jojo, hi, I loved your book reviews. Oh, that's kind. I like doing book reviews, but it's a lot of work, isn't it? Because you have to read the book. Marseille Weight. Oh, Marseille Weight is nice. It's nice, isn't it, the Marseille Weight? There are a number of decks flying around at the moment that try to sort of resolve the split between weight, between Rider-Waite-Smith and Tarot de Marseille, some with more success than others. Okay, faraway start. So it's the energies of the 2 people and the combined energy of the relationship. Well, yes. I mean, it's. I mean, I don't overthink it really. I just say, that's person A, that's person B, that's the relationship, So yeah, exactly that. I mean, in a sense, that's where person A is and the energy that they're in, and that's where person B is and their energy, and that's how they're relating. That's how the relationship is functioning at the moment. And we saw in that last reading that we just had a five of battens. It was just struggle because you had this, you had a king energy and a death energy, and one was stable and one was what's the word, going through changes, and that sort of resulted in struggle. So it's a very good reading. It's a very good spread, and you can have 2 2 2. You can have 3 3 3. You can have you can do it as you want it, but always construct it like a bridge. It's a bridge, and that is what connects the two. And it can be a relationship of a person to another person, or it can be a relationship to a person to their place of work, or of a person to the town they live in, or of a person to their family. It's just very, very versatile. It's very, very good. Justin Michael, when I get back to making videos, I want to do some book reviews. Oh, well, I didn't know you made videos, Justin. I think book reviews are really, really appreciated because, I mean, if you can review books well, and I mean, I appreciate good book reviews because you're saving people time, aren't you? And if you can say, this book is really good, or this book has a really good chapter in it, or the middle section of this book is really good, then again, you're saving people a lot of time. Faraway Star says, okay, got it, thank you. L. Phillips, The Rose Tarot by Nigel Jackson was an early attempt. Oh, that's interesting. The Rose Tarot by Michael Jackson. You can tell I'm on the edge, can't you? Tarot is designed by Michael Jackson. Yeah, and there's a Japanese one called the Keishobu from the early 70s, which was the first tarot ever printed in Japan, which was an amazing project. It just dived straight in, and it did the whole RWS deck in the style of a Tarot de Marseille deck. Did it quite well. I don't find it actually very easy to read with. And there's one that's come out just like a year or two ago. I forget which publisher did it, and it's sort of it's the same concept, but it's a sort of a much messier version. Justin's interviews are enjoyable. Oh, wow. Okay, Justin. Justin Michael. Interviews are cool. The clock says 10 to 8. Oh, I have a question for everybody. I don't know how many of you guys are in the UK. Well, I mean, we're speaking English here. You could be anywhere. Or if you are in the Americas, or if you are in somewhere in Europe or on the east of the globe. But which time is better? For a long time, I was doing 6 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. And tonight I did an hour later because I was, the logic behind that was to make it slightly later on Sunday morning for anyone, for example, living in California on the west coast of America. So that was intended for the convenience of the American, American viewers. This time is way better. Good. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's really the case, I'm happy to stick with it. It means that I have my dinner before rather than after. I'm actually, if I'm well, if I don't go down with something frightful, like Nicholas says 7 is good. Great. Okay, then it's a deal. I'm actually planning on doing 2 live streams in June because there are 5 Sundays in June, and I only do 3 recorded videos per month. So in 2 weeks, I'm actually thinking of being a real super devil and doing a live stream on a Saturday, because there might be people in the world for whom Sunday is just completely bad, and I might have a completely different audience. But I think in 2 weeks' time, I'll come back 7 o'clock Saturday GMT, and we'll just see who it suits. Camellia Elia's chat about questions was terrific. Rolf Madsen, this time's okay for me in Sweden. Okay, good. Alfred, I'd be fine if this was 1 a.m. in Boston. Good here in Denver, Colorado. Well, you know what? To a Brit like me, it does feel kind of glamorous to be chatting with people as far away as Denver and Boston. Also Sweden. I know there are some people from the UK. It's really nice. You know what? It's really nice. This time is okay for me in East Coast Canada. I'm a little east of you, 4 hours ahead of the UK, but I watch late nights. Okay, so Jojo, it's not too late for you if we do it at this time. Okay, I think the thing is that I can't imagine a time which would be good for the people who live in Australia. I'm next door in the Netherlands. I really like hearing about where all you guys are. I get a childish excitement I just get an internet rush. We're really using the internet. We've got a global party going on here. Central Florida, fantastic. And I think this is the best thing about the internet, is that it kind of, you can form little conversations of people with shared interests, and you've got the whole of the world to choose from. Ooh, New Jersey here, Rocky Mountains. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Well, guys, let's wind down. We've got another 5 minutes. Let's wind down. If there's any questions or any hellos or goodbyes or any last minute chats, let's do it now. Watching from Chicago, love your content. Oh, thank you. And everybody, you know, like Day of the Jackal. I really, really like coming online and hearing from the people who are watching, because as you know, I want this to be my job. I want it to be successful. I want it to, to bring in a little trickle of income so that it pays for itself. And so I do quite a lot of work on it, and I really, really like hearing from people who watch. So feel free to say hi anytime. You're a rising celeb, Robert. That's really nice. Well, yes. Who needs celebs these days? That's what I say. But it would be nice. It would be nice to have for this to be a job, so I could kind of like pay for my health insurance here in Germany. Justin Mike says, that was great, Robert. Thank you for keeping me entertained on a Sunday. Our baseball team, the Philadelphia Phillies, are playing in London today. Wow. Nicholas says, a fantastic live. Thanks, Nick. You're always very supportive. You were mentioned in a Reddit tape thread, Robert. Ooh, I've arrived. Lovely space and people. Thank you, Robert. Ooh, thank you. I'm honored you thought I was a gay man for a year. Oh, did I? I guess I make frightful assumptions. Rolf says, thank you. Dave the Jackal. A Reddit tarot thread. Okay, you're right. Appreciate your story the other day about reads that go wrong. I'd ask the question about how much to reveal to the client. Oh, great. Yeah, yeah. A McG, it sounds like that's opening a new topic, but I'll be back in 2 weeks, and if you want to ask me more about that, then we can talk about it. I hope you do more book reviews, not just tarot books. Your insights are fun. Yes, I have a book review coming up. It's on my list. It's reviewed. It's made. It's a video. It's made, and it's scheduled, and it's going to come out in the next few weeks. And it's called My Top 10 Spiritual Books. I mean, I need to keep focus on the subject of tarot so that the YouTube algorithm understands what I'm doing. I can't at this stage in the channel's life, one can't really be too diverse. This is absolute kind of like YouTube, the rules of YouTube. You have to be a bit mono focused, but I do occasionally stray off piste. And I do have my video on spiritual books coming up. So I think you'll enjoy that. You've forgiven me for being a bit hard on 78 degrees. Kay Hansen, always a treat connecting with genuine reader. Oh, thank you. MG, great. TY. Thank you, Robert. The 2-card spread looks helpful. The 2-card red, the 2-card spread, I once did a short on that spread, and I called it the only spread you'll ever need. And if I had one spread for a desert island, it would be that. It is, in a sense, the whole of tarot is contained in that spread. It's the absolute foundation, I think. I think it's very good. Red Wing thinks, thank you, Robert, and all. Great chat as ever. Okay, everyone, I'm going to finish 1 minute early and go and take something for my sore throat. And all this talking, all this talking with a sore throat. Bye. Your first group of groupies. Thank you, Robert. Great chat as always. Bye. I'll leave the channels open until the clock strikes, 8 in London, and then I'll close it. So if anyone wants to say goodbye to anyone else. Sending love. If I was doing this on a laptop, I would be like typing in little heart signs, but I'm not. I'm on my phone because I'm not quite up to scratch with my technology. Bye. What does Hanson Roberts say? And the spirit guides say this. Ta-da! The Hanson Roberts magician. And with that we end.